everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It is Wednesday, July 22nd. We yet again have two EPL showdowns, one meaning a lot more than the other, but should be a great day of games. Enjoyed yesterday's slate. Not so much the City Watford demolition, I guess, except for before, right when like City's lineup came out and they decided to send out Team 1. You kind of felt that this could be, trying to think of the right word, like a demolition, which it was. Still had like a lot of Foster lines that did okay, but the second game went really very much as we kind of laid out. Villa playing for everything, especially when they saw Watford lose, knowing that the door was wide open to avoid relegation. Or at least, really get back into that hunt with the win. They pulled out versus Arsenal. That was a great slate. Hope you all did well. Before we jump in, just wanted to thank everybody for continuing to watch. Been getting a lot of messages on, my Twitter. See it in the comments. People doing well. Just I really want to thank you all for the support of these videos. It's been seeing the numbers increase throughout doing this, and it really does make the grind worth it. So thank you guys for watching. If it's your first time, make sure to hit the subscribe bottom right. Really appreciate that. It helps more than you know. Anyhow, let's jump into the games. And I do want to kind of do two things today. I want to not only jump into the games, but also bring up the table so we can look at how much these games mean. Because like we saw yesterday, especially with Villa, that was, in my opinion, what changed that slate. I saw heavy Arsenal chalk. And just keep in mind, like, Arsenal wasn't playing for anything. They had just come off the biggest win of their season for City in the FA Cup. So, a letdown was always imminent. So today we have United in an incredibly important game. This is the game that both teams have serious implications. Minus 434 home to West Ham. I'll go over the table in a minute. Second game is a little less implications. Liverpool's kind of sleptwalk through the restart versus Chelsea, who, this game could very much, hold their Champions League fate, getting a point. And with all the money that they're wanting to spend, they've already spent a ton of money on Timo Werner. They've spent a ton of money on Hakim Ziyech. They're planning to potentially spend a ton of money on Kai Havertz, all the while not spending any money on defender. That's a whole other story, or goalie. But this is important. Like, those debts have to be paid. So we will see how that goes for them today. Let's take a quick look at the table. So West Ham in the 16th, with that goal differential and just how they're playing, I think that they're going to be safe. West Ham will play Villa in the final game, which is going to be huge and have tons of implications. But they would love to salvage a point today. Salvage a point would guarantee that they cannot be relegated. But I still do feel that they'll be safe. Just Watford's just gross. United, though, as we can see at the top of the table, they're in 5th. They are tied with Leicester. They are only behind due to goal difference. And then they're actually on the second tiebreaker, but they have a game in hand, which is huge. So a win here, they jump Leicester. They potentially could jump Chelsea, depending on the results, get into 3rd and really looking to lock up that UCL berth, which will be huge for them. Chelsea, as we can see here, also has a game in hand versus Leicester, but really want to salvage a point here to give them some breathing room. At minimum, Liverpool is playing for nothing. They've clinched the league. They've clinched Champions League. No records after this little slide are in play anymore. So, yeah, their goal to show up today would just be to kind of ruin Chelsea's parade, which very well could happen. So that's the table. Let's jump into the lineups and kind of where we should go for DFS. So let's start out with United. The first player in your lineups, the unfadable force on United since 2020 start is Bruno Fernandes. Over every set piece, on PKs, high volume shooter, high volume crosser, everything you could possibly want out of a DFS player, he is. Not going to go any more with that. That should be your cash captain, and where every single lineup starts. If you play 150, like my boy Parlor Boss, aka Peanut Butter 16, then he's not Peanut Butter 16. I just can't help it. He's winning too much, so I got to try to bring him down a little bit. But if maybe he does a few fades with the amount of lines he's playing. But for you all playing 3-4 lines, you are not fading Bruno Fernandes. You should be doing differentiation on other attackers. So speaking of other attackers, let's talk about that. The guy with the most talent and the best floor, even if it's not that great of a floor, is Marcus Rashford, playing out wide, high volume shooter. I would especially want to see if we see Ben Johnson here versus like Ryan Fredericks. I think that's a matchup that Rashford would look forward to trying to exploit. I don't know the fitness of Ryan Fredericks, but I can't imagine that West Ham would like to throw out the young kid in this important of a game. That said, what can we see? You would definitely see a lot of Declan Rice trying to have to come over and shadow and try to help out that matchup. But yeah, so I think most people, especially the minus 434 favorite, in a 3+ match, in a 3+ total, definitely going to want at least one other United attacker. I think most go for Rashford. If you want to differentiate, looking at Mason Greenwood, who until the last 2 games would have been the chalk. He did get a price decrease. He's showing that he doesn't have much of a floor. Really needs a goal or assist to pay off. But let's be real. So does Rashford. Like more likely than not, you're not getting 10 floor points out of Rashford. The YOLO, really no completely goal dependent. No floor outside of a goal or assist is Anthony Martial. I think a fine GPP play. In cash, I'm going to be leaning Rashford. Now, based on pricing, you probably could fit 3 of these attackers if you wanted, or you can kind of go up more the middle. Paul Pogba is still underpriced. I think he's going to be very popular in cash because Pogba does have a floor. And from a point per dollar perspective, is probably very, very similar floor to the likes of Rashford and Martial. Obviously, Rashford having the best, maybe Martial being a little bit higher than Greenwood. But Pogba, from a point per dollar aspect, is definitely up there. Aaron Wan-Bissaka also shows up pretty cheap at 6K. You should see him being pretty popular as well. So I think that's the United chalk type of plays. I think Bruno Fernandes will be close to 100% in cash. Rashford the next most owned. And I think it goes Pogba, Wan-Bissaka. So leverage as you will. Brandon Williams is okay. Just not really a high crosser. He's going to do more tackling and fouls drawn. Similar mold to Luke Shaw. Obviously, I think the one thing on the Sofa lineup I don't agree with, I think the manager Matic comes back in. That is their best lineup with Matic playing. It gives Pogba a little more freedom. If McTominay's in, I don't think I get off of Pogba because of that reason, but Pogba has to be a little more cognizant of his defensive responsibilities because McTominay roams a little bit more than Matic does. Matic is there to sit in front of the back 4 and do work, kind of sweeping in front of them. And just making it difficult on West Ham to attack. Final thing I'll mention, David De Gea, YOLO play. West Ham has been in good form, not only scoring, but just, attacking. So, there is very much risk of conceding, but, with that also there's good upside because I think West Ham will get multiple shots on target. And if David De Gea can save all of them, you're opening up 16 to 20 DK for a ceiling, which is going to make him very appealing, especially in GPPs at his price tag. On the West Ham side of things, the big decision that you need to make is, are you playing or fading Jared Bowen? You can argue that Jared Bowen's floor is better than Marcus Rashford, is better than Mason Greenwood, is better than Anthony Martial, is better than Paul Pogba. He's priced in the same range as Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial. I think that's going to be the decision in cash that ultimately will make or break the slate. Is do you go Jared Bowen over like Rashford and then do the balance build, or B, do you go with Fernandes, Rashford, and then Bowen, and then make it work from there? Because you definitely can. Actually, before I make that bold statement, I'm pretty sure I did it last night as I was preparing. Let me double check. Probably gave it away that I wasn't really preparing Jared Bowen, but as I am talking, I'm thinking more and more that, that very well could be the route that you want to go. Okay, so we go Bruno, captain, Rashford, we have Bowen, and we still have 4,500 left over. So you absolutely can make that work. And that could very well be the build to get the most floor. Mark Noble stood out to me as way, way too cheap for his role. I was shocked that he was only like 50% owned last week, given his role on set pieces and is underpriced. You've got to also remember he has PK upside. If he will be on penalties. But for some reason, they only have him at 3,500, 35. Let me double check. Noble. Oh, it's 4,600. Why? I think it's 3,500, 4,600. So, I mean, he's not free, but sub 5K for sets, PK upside, very in play. Declan Rice will be very popular at 3,400, coming off of a goal and just having multiple really solid floor games for a defensive midfielder. Declan Rice, there's a very good chance that he's at a bigger club next year, and he's proven the reason why. Mikel Antonio is 100% in play, probably not for cash given the odds, but for GPP given the fact that Mikel Antonio is just damn good footballer. So I think that you need to give him a long look if you want goal scoring upside, and if you're really trying to get off all the United chalk. Not a lot of people are going to place plus 900 goal scorer. So that could be a great way to differentiate yourself from the pack. Your fullback, Ben Johnson, didn't get forward a ton, but it's going to be cheap. Cresswell, I don't think it's the matchup to pay for Cresswell. Thomas Susek, even though he shows up as a defensive midfielder, if you watch the games, he loves to get forward into the box for headers. So he is obviously a goal threat too. Maybe he's even a better for like a price per dollar goal upside. Maybe he's even a better way to attack than Mikel Antonio, who could, because of his logs, show up maybe a little over-owned for what he brings to the table with the matchup. Final thing, I always mention this and will always continue to, Lucas Fabianski will only be a quarter of the ownership of David De Gea. He's going to be very, very busy. If he shows up and West Ham win 1-0 on a counterattack goal by Mark, how about this? This is a true Gator guy. I would love this. West Ham wins 1-0. Mark Noble PK. United has 72% of the possession. Bruno Fernandes, 15 crosses. Marcus Rashford even gets in the crossing game. Wan-Bissaka bombs forward. So you play Mark Noble, Lucas Fabianski, and then stack the United 4 plays, and you win all the money. Not saying it's going to happen, but that's the type of thinking. That's not going to be an owned lineup. Definitely gives you the upside to take a GPP with a majority of the field stacking up United. Let's go to Liverpool-Chelsea. Not my favorite game, just because I don't know what Liverpool is going to show up anymore, and this is coming from a Liverpool fan. It's been a sour way to end the season. I'm not gonna lie. After the celebration that was the league after all these years, after winning the Champions League, it's been an amazing ride being a Liverpool fan, and we're just kind of graciously wishing that the season would end at this point, so we can go back to just thinking about the positive of winning the league. But that said, I think a game versus Chelsea could make them show up. With all that being said, no matter what motivation you want to question, Trent Alexander-Arnold is still your first guy in your lineup over most of Liverpool sets. One of the top 5. I'm unfortunately having to take him out of DFS God status because he's just not showing up as well. But that said, he still walks onto the pitch with 8 crosses, a couple shots assisted, most of Liverpool's corners, most of Liverpool's free kicks, and they just went ahead and they didn't price him up where they should. So I think he's first guy in your lineup. The next guy in might be Andrew Robertson, who's taking the left-sided corners. Liverpool actually likes to do outswingers. I talked so much with in-swingers. Liverpool really likes to do outswinging corners. So Robertson takes the ones over here to come on the outside, hoping to hook up with Virgil van Dijk's head right past Kepa. That would be a fun goal today. I think a lot of the site will come down to which one of Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane you pick. I think it's going to be tough to play both. And I don't know if it's optimal. I mean, obviously on a Liverpool route, if you think Liverpool wins 3-0, 3-1, then yeah, you probably want both because those are their goal scorers. I talked about it a lot. I understand Roberto Firmino is the falsest of the false nines that you can get. He will drop back, spend a ton of time up here, a lot more time in the middle of the field as kind of an attacking midfielder / number 10 than he does in the box with Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah acting much more like a striking partnership than they do true wingers. They are all about wanting to cut in to get shots, not so much hit the byline for crosses. So that said, if you're looking for the Liverpool goals, you're going to be looking for Mane and Salah more so than Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino, fine GPP play, obviously still can show up with a goal. Just if you just flat out shooting for goals, your better odds are with Mane and Salah. Both have actually decent floors because of shots and fouls drawn and shots assisted. So I think either one of them is fine. Obviously, you get a discount off of Mane, and Mane always shows up lower owned than Salah just from name recognition alone. I think that covers Liverpool. Van Dijk, Alisson, the midfield all in play. Naby Keita is the most attacking of the midfield three when he is in. Also, the most likely to sub early too for like Jordan Henderson. I really do think this is Jordan Henderson for this game. But Keita's been playing great, so maybe he gets in over Virginia Wijnaldum, something like that. I think it covers Liverpool well. Let's go to the Chelsea side of things. Chelsea's coming off of a massive win on the weekend as well versus United in the FA Cup final. Big difference between them and Arsenal, though, is these last two games are of critical importance to pay all the players that they're signing during these financial times where these clubs are struggling for revenue. So they absolutely need to do that. You have guys that are fighting for contracts, have Champions League bonuses written in. They absolutely want to win here. I think they would very much take the points, but Chelsea has a lot more to play for than Liverpool. So with Chelsea, Willian is over all the sets. So I think he is the most likely guy that you lock in. This is going to be Christian Pulisic, if you ask me. Mason Mount had a phenomenal game on the weekend, but I think that will give way to Pulisic, who has arguably been Chelsea's first or second best player since the restart. I'll be really interested to see where they start with their wingbacks. I think there's a very good chance that we do not see Marcus Alonso, and that we see that this is actually a 4-3-3 with Reece James on the right and Cesar Azpilicueta on the left. I don't know if Frank's going to trust Marcus Alonso versus Salah. If I do see Alonso in, that makes me push Salah over Mane. Cesar Azpilicueta is a great defender, not good. He is a great defender. Marcus Alonso is not a bad, but a terrible defender. So just matchup alone would make me push to that side. While Marcus Alonso is a terrible defender, he is a fantastic attacking fullback. And Azpilicueta is a very good one. I think both of them would be in play. They're cheap. After Willian, my favorite way to attack Chelsea will be the fullbacks, and especially if they're wing backs, they'd like to get forward. So Reece James crosses the ball, Alonso crosses the ball. I like those plays a lot. Obviously, you can play Pulisic as well. He comes with a lot lower floor than any of the other forwards, especially due to matchup. I think he would probably be a fade for me in cash. Olivier Giroud's been out in outstanding form. It's funny to say that I was thinking if Pulisic was the best person to restart, and the only reason I hesitate is because Giroud has been that good. So if you want a Chelsea goal, take the Frenchman potentially to score here. I think that really wraps up Chelsea too, and that game in general. I just think that's the hardest one to script. I think if you do multiple GPPs, you've got to just kind of cover a lot of the boxes, because I truly normally have like a stance, and I'm doing on these, and I don't exactly hide with you guys like what I'm feeling. I was pretty stern that I thought Villa would beat Arsenal yesterday with everything on that they had to play for, and can just tell you I have no idea on Liverpool. Chelsea, probably because there's some bias in there with Liverpool, and I don't want to admit that I think Chelsea's going to win. But if it were me, and potentially how I'm going to attack it is a couple Liverpool stacks, that run back. If I have room for, more than likely in like my GPP lineups, it's going to be like Salah and Mane, fade Willian the other side, take my Chelsea pieces being like the wing backs and the floor plays, and then immediately go, okay, I got Liverpool stacks covered. Now I need to go ahead and maybe do some Chelsea ones. So I'm going to fade Salah and Mane. I'm going to play TAA, right? I'm going to potentially still play Robertson, but now I can do like Willian, Pulisic, or Pulisic. Giroud would be the more contrarian Chelsea route, or do the front three, a wing back, run it back with TAA and whatever fits, something along those lines. Good luck for those of you that want to play Kepa. What do we know about Kepa? Kepa concedes. Let's see if that happens again. I will probably do 5 to 10 lineups. I don't know if I'll get to a Kepa lineup, but I think we can do better. Anyhow, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope that there are more winners. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at GatorGuy231. While I'm not there to answer your lineup questions, that is something that I do reserve for our FSI members. If you have strategy questions or anything like that, I'm happy to answer. Normally when there aren't games being locked, not during lock time, it's not the best time to reach out to me, but any other time I'd love to answer. Thank you all again for watching. Have a great day.